Last 5 minutes में ना unmute कर दीजिएगा. Just thank you. Assalamu alaikum, students. How is everyone? So I'm going to start again with the liver and biliary tract 2, starting with hepatitis, and I'm going to explain one by one the salient features of hepatitis A, B, C, D, E, and then we are going to do alcoholic liver disease, non-alcoholic liver disease, autoimmune hepatitis. ये आगे नहीं जा रही slide. In the last 5 minutes, I'm going to unmute and you can ask questions. So hepatitis. Hepatitis is the inflammation of the liver parenchyma. As all of you know, it stands for inflammation. The most important causes of hepatitis are viral hepatitis by hepatotropic viruses, which are hepatitis A virus, B virus, C, D, E viruses. Then non-viral infections, alcoholic hepatitis and alcoholic liver disease, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, toxins, drugs, autoimmune disorders, and metabolic disorders. They can all lead to hepatitis. So we are going to start with the viral hepatitis. Viral hepatitis, as all of you know, is caused by inflammation of the liver by viruses. Hepatotropic viruses are hepatitis A, B, C, D, E. These viruses, they have specific affinity for the liver. The other viruses which can cause hepatitis are Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, herpes simplex virus, adenoviral infections. These are all leading to hepatitis in immunocompromised individuals. Then yellow fever viruses are also a major cause of hepatitis in tropical countries. So most important causes of viral hepatitis are those hepatotropic viruses, hepatitis A, B, C, D, E, and other viruses like Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, herpes simplex virus, and yellow fever virus and adenovirus. So hepatitis A virus. Hepatitis A virus, HAV, it is usually a self-limiting disease caused by hepatitis A virus. RNA, it is an RNA picornavirus. The incubation period for the hepatitis A virus is 2 to 6 weeks. The disease or the hepatitis which it causes is acute viral infection or acute viral hepatitis. It does not cause a chronic disease. Fulminant diseases also can be seen in the cases of hepatitis A, but it is very rare. Only 0.1 to 0.3% is fatality rate in cases of fulminant hepatitis by hepatitis A virus. The route of transmission is fecal-oral food contamination. That is that the virus is excreted out into the feces, and if the food gets contaminated by this fecal matter, then and it is taken up by the patient, it is going to be the route of transmission, fecal-oral food contamination. The clinical symptoms can be a mild disease with fatigue, loss of appetite, jaundice. Worldwide, 25% of acute hepatitis is seen clinically by hepatitis A virus. Okay, the serological markers you have already done, but this is just a repetition of serological markers. Hepatitis A virus viremia is transient. Fecal shedding of the virus is present from 2 to 12 weeks. IgM anti-HAV. It is a reliable marker for the acute infection. It rises with the appearance of symptoms and decline in few months. Afterwards, IgG anti-HAV appears in the serum, which after the disappearance of IgM, it persists for years and it gives the lifetime immunity. So hepatitis A virus, I hope it is clear. The incubation period is 2 to 6 weeks. Diseases causes viral hepatitis, which is acute. Chronic hepatitis is not known with hepatitis A virus, and route of transmission is fecal-oral route. Clinical symptoms can be mild with fatigue, loss of appetite, or they can be of increase in severity. Fulminant hepatitis is only seen in a very rare cases, and fatality rate is 0.1 to 0.3%. And the viral markers are IgM anti-HAV, which is seen in the acute phase, and IgG anti-HAV, which is seen in the which persists for life, and it gives a lifetime immunity, and it is also a basis of vaccination. Next is hepatitis hepatitis B virus. HBV is a DNA virus which belongs to the Hepatnaviridae family. Hepatitis B virus can produce acute hepatitis with recovery. Non-progressive chronic hepatitis means that chronic hepatitis keeps on going inside the patient, but it does not progress to cirrhosis. Then progressive chronic disease, which can end in cirrhosis. Then acute hepatitis with failure, liver failure. And number five, an asymptomatic healthy carrier state. It means the patient is a carrier of hepatitis B virus, but in he or she there are no signs and symptoms. Sometimes HPV-induced chronic liver disease is also a precursor for hepatocellular carcinoma. So hepatitis B virus is a virus which can lead to either acute hepatitis, non-progressive chronic hepatitis, progressive chronic hepatitis with cirrhosis, acute hepatic failure with massive liver necrosis, and asymptomatic carrier. And HPV-induced chronic liver disease leading to cirrhosis is also a precursor of hepatocellular carcinoma. Incubation period. The incubation period of hepatitis B virus is 2 to 26 weeks and remain in the blood in active episodes of acute and chronic hepatitis. Okay. The route of transmission are different. They are parenteral route, perinatal route, and sexual route. It is divided into three categories: in high prevalence areas, intermediate prevalence areas, and low prevalence areas. In high prevalence area, transmission is during childbirth and it accounts for 90% of the transmission. And in the intermediate prevalence areas, horizontal transmission occurs from in the early childhood due to close contact with parents or any person who is suffering from hepatitis because of the breaks in skin and mucous membrane. The hepatitis B virus is going to infect the children in early age. And in areas where there is low prevalence, the most important routes are intravenous drug abusers or sharing of needles and syringes and unprotected sex. These are the routes of transmission in low prevalent areas. Transmission related spread has decreased a lot because of the screening of the blood for hepatitis B surface antigen. All the donated blood has to be screened. If the hepatitis B surface antigen is present, that blood is not given to the person. Immunity. Vaccination induces a protective anti-HBs antibody response in 95% of infants, children, and adolescents. So incubation period is 2 to 6 weeks. Route of transmission I've said as parenteral, that is through the bloodstream, perinatal or sexual. In high prevalence rate, it is 90% of cases are infected during the childbirth, and in the intermediate areas, it is through the break in the skin and mucous membrane because of the close contact. And other routes of transmission are unprotected sex, intravenous drug abusers, sharing of needles and syringes. Transfusion-based spread has been decreased because of the regular screening of the blood for hepatitis B surface antigen. The anti-HBs antibody is protective against the hepatitis B viral infection, and it is the basis for the vaccination. So these are the routes of transmission during childbirth when with breastfeeding, intrauterine, sexually transmitted with blood transfusion. As I've told you, it has decreased through wounds, insect bites, use of the non-sterile syringes or sharing of the syringes. Okay, these are the routes of spread of hepatitis B viral infection. Hepatitis B viral infection leads to chronicity. The younger the age at the time of hepatitis B viral infection, the higher the probability of the disease becoming chronic. Prevention is by vaccination. Immunity is seen in 95% of screening of blood, organ, and tissue donors also has reduced the hepatitis B viral infection. Okay, so chronicity is seen in cases of hepatitis B viral infection, and vaccination is the basis which can lead to prevention of the disease. It gives the immunity, and screening of blood, organ, and tissue also has decreased the hepatitis B viral infection. The serological markers. Hepatitis B surface antigen, HBsAg, appears before the onset of symptoms. It peaks in the overt disease and disappears in 12 to 24 weeks. So hepatitis B surface antigen is present before the onset of disease, and it peaks and it disappears in 12 to 24 weeks. Number two serological marker is anti-HBs antibody. It does not rise until the acute disease is over. When the hepatitis B surface antigen disappears, afterwards anti-HBs antibodies are produced. They must persist for life and they confer the protection against the hepatitis B. And this is also the basis of current vaccination strategies. In some cases, anti-HBs antibody does not appear in the serum for weeks to months after the disappearance of hepatitis B surface antigen, and this period is called a window period. This means in this window period, a hepatitis B surface antigen is absent and hepatitis B anti-HBs antibody has not been shown in the serum as yet. During this window period, serological marker is IgM anti-HBC antibody. So this is the serological marker in the window period. The other serological markers are hepatitis B E antigen, HBV DNA, and DNA polymerase. All of these appear in the serum soon after the hepatitis B surface antigen. All signify acute viral replication. So other serological markers, which are hepatitis B E antigen, HBV DNA, and DNA polymerase, they also appear in the serum soon after hepatitis B surface antigen, and all of these indicate viral replication in the acute stage. Hepatitis B E antigen is an important indicator of continued viral replication, infectivity, and disease progression to chronic hepatitis. Anti-HB antibodies appearance implies that the acute infection is peaked and announced wane. So we have hepatitis B surface antigen, then antibody, which is anti-HBs antibody, then IgM anti-HBC antibody is seen in the window period. Other markers are HBe antigen, hepatitis B viral DNA, DNA polymerase. HB antigen is an important indicator that the infection is going into chronic stage, and anti-HB antibodies appear that implies the infection is on its wane after it has peaked. Okay, so these are the serological marker for hepatitis B viral infection. IgM anti-HBC detected in the serum before the onset of symptom indicates hepatocyte destruction as transaminases are raised at this level as well. Over the periods of month, IgM anti-HBC is replaced by IgG anti-HBC. Okay, so these are the serological markers of hepatitis B viral infection. Next is the hepatitis C. Hepatitis C is a single-stranded RNA virus, belong to Flaviviride family. Virus is unstable and gives rise to multiple genotypes and subtypes, and that is why there is no vaccination which is produced against hepatitis C virus because it's constantly changing its genome. Incubation period of hepatitis C virus ranges from 4 to 26 weeks with a mean incubation period of 9 weeks. Disease. The hepatitis C virus causes acute hepatitis C infection, which is milder than the hepatitis B viral infection. Persistent infection and chronic infections are the hallmark of hepatitis C viral infection. And despite the asymptomatic acute illness, this hepatitis C viral infection can go into chronicity. So hepatitis B virus mostly clears, but hepatitis C virus mostly goes into chronicity. And this chronicity can lead to cirrhosis of the liver with the chances of getting into a hepatocellular carcinoma. The routes of transmission of hepatitis C virus is intravenous route. Intravenous drug abusers, blood and blood products can lead to hepatitis C viral infection, but screening of blood has also decreased the incidence of hepatitis C virus to blood products to be minimum. Unprotected sex during surgery or dental procedures, it can be given to the patient. Needle stick injury. It is also an important cause of hepatitis C viral infection. Multiple contacts with the HCV infected person can also give rise to hepatitis C viral infection if there is break in the skin or mucous membrane. Employment in medical or dental field can give to hepatitis C viral infection, and mother to child transmission. So the routes of transmission of hepatitis B and C virus are quite the same. So it can be seen in the intravenous drug abusers because of the sharing of the needles or because of the unsterilized needles. Blood and blood products has also can lead to transmission of the infection, but the rate has tremendously decreased because there is a regular screening for hepatitis B and C viral infection before giving the blood or blood products to a patient. Unprotected sex is also another route during surgery or dental procedures. If the instruments are not sterilized properly, they can give rise to hepatitis C. Needle stick injuries can also give rise to hepatitis C. Multiple contacts with HCV patient because of the breach in the mucous membrane or skin can give rise to hepatitis C. Employment in medical or dental field can lead to accidental penetration of the skin or mucous membrane and leading to hepatitis C viral infection. And mother to child transmission is also there. So routes of transmission: sharing injectable needles, unprotected sex, mother to child transmission, needle stick injury. The diagram explains this better. Serological markers for hepatitis C virus. The hepatitis C virus RNA appears in the serum within 1 to 3 weeks and it persists, goes down in months. In chronic infection, HCV RNA persists despite anti-HCV antibodies. In chronic patient, HCV RNA testing is performed to assess the viral load. So HCV RNA, it is present in the serum and it persists for many months and it appears within 1 to 3 weeks. It goes in many months, and in the chronic infection, it persists for a longer period of time or throughout the illness. And despite we have anti-HCV antibodies. So, HCV RNA testing is performed to assess the viral load in patients who are suffering from chronic HCV infections. And this is done by PCR, polymerase chain reactions. Anti-HCV antibodies. Anti-HCV antibodies start to appear in 3 to 6 weeks, formed against the E2 protein of envelope. This is the most variable region as well. It enables emergent viral strains to escape from the neutralizing antibodies. Though we have antibodies present in the serum against which are anti-HCV antibodies, but because of the constant viral replication and changing of genome, these neutralizing antibodies are become ineffective. This genomic instability and antigenic variability is not letting the development of a vaccine. Serum transaminases levels are high, they fluctuate, and they never become normal in cases of chronic infection of hepatitis C viral infections. So this is the HCV antibodies assay, which I have already explained you. You can look at the chart. And this is genotype 4, 5, and 6. Liver biopsy or serological markers of disease can tell us the severity of the illness. In the case of bad prognosis, HCV RNA detection at the end of treatment and after 24 weeks later as well. And good prognosis follow-up without treatment. So I hope it is clear. So we have done hepatitis A virus, B virus, C virus. Now we are going to see what is hepatitis D virus. It is also called a delta agent. Hepatitis D virus is also called delta agent, is an RNA virus dependent of its life on hepatitis B viral infection. So hepatitis D viral infection can never occur on its own. It is always in combination with hepatitis B virus disease. Infection arises in the following setting. Either there is going to be co-infection or there is going to be super-infection. Co-infection means if the person is suffering, if following exposure to a serum which contains both hepatitis B virus and D virus, then the hepatitis D virus can infect the individual. Only if hepatitis B virus establishes itself first and gives rise to hepatitis B surface antigen, which is necessary for the development of hepatitis B viral hepatitis D virons. Acute hepatitis develop, which is self-limiting and is followed by clearance of both viruses. So hepatitis D virus, which is also known as delta agent, can never occur on its own. It is always a combination of infection with hepatitis B virus. Either the serum contains both hepatitis B and B virus and D virus at the same time. And when the patient gets infected, first has to be establishment of hepatitis B virus with the production of hepatitis B virus surface antigen, which is necessary for the replication of hepatitis D virons. Acute hepatitis develops, which is self-limiting in this case, and it is followed by clearance of both hepatitis B and D viruses. So this is co-infection. The other infection can be a super-infection. Super-infection is that when a person is already infected with hepatitis B virus, there is an infection with super added exposure to hepatitis D virus. This disease presents in 30 to 50 days as severe hepatitis in a previously unrecognized hepatitis B viral carrier or an exacerbation of pre-existing hepatitis B viral infection. It means either the person is only a carrier, there is no disease of hepatitis B in that, or hepatitis B viral disease is present and it exacerbates, means it increases more in intensity after the person gets exposed to hepatitis D virus. Chronic HDV infection occurs in almost all patients. Super infection has two phases. So chronic hepatitis D viral infection occurs in these individuals, and this has super infection has two phases. Number one phase is known as acute phase, and number two is chronic phase. In acute phase, with active HDV replication and suppression of HPV with high transaminases. So in acute infection, there is active hepatitis D viral infection which is replicating, while hepatitis B virus is suppressed and transaminases level, that is ALT, AST levels in the liver, are raised. In the chronic phase, with decreased HDV replication and increased HPV replication, transferase levels fluctuates and the disease progresses to cirrhosis of the liver. So acute phase and chronic phase. Acute phase, hepatitis D virus is only going to replicate while B virus is going to be suppressed, but transaminases levels are high. But in chronic phase, HDV replication and increased HPV replication both have can be seen, and this can progress to cirrhosis of the liver. The serological markers for HDV RNA is detectable in the blood and liver just before and in the early days of active symptomatic disease. So hepatitis D viral RNA can be detected in the blood just before the disease or in the active stage. IgM anti-HDV antibody is the most reliable indicator of recent HDV exposure. It appears late and it is short-lived. In chronic delta hepatitis arising from HDV superinfection, hepatitis B surface antigen is present in serum, and anti-HDV antibodies, which are IgGM and IgG, they persist for months and longer. So we have to see if the person is infected with hepatitis B virus, that HDV RNA is present in the acute stage. And IgM anti-HDV also develops, but it is short-lived. And in chronic delta virus infections, hepatitis B surface antigen has to be present in the serum. It is always present. And anti-HDV antibodies, which are both IgG and IgM, can also be present in the serum, and they persist for months or even longer than this. Next is hepatitis E virus. Hepatitis E virus is an RNA virus in the herpes genus. So I didn't tell you the roots of hepatitis D virus, but it is very clear from this because it occurs to superinfections. So the roots of transmission are just the same as of hepatitis B virus. It does not occur on its own, but it has to occur with the combination of hepatitis B virus, as I've explained earlier. I hope it's clear. Okay, next is the hepatitis E virus. Hepatitis E virus is also an RNA virus in the Hepivirus genus. Incubation period of hepatitis E virus is 4 to 5 weeks. Disease of HEV is from the zoonotic disease. That is, there are animal reservoirs which are monkeys, cats, pigs, and dogs. Epidemics have been reported and they cause 30 to 60% of cases of sporadic acute hepatitis in India more than in HAV infections. HAV has high mortality in pregnant females, approaching to 20%. In HAV, chronic liver disease does not occur. So there are two viruses, hepatitis A virus and hepatitis E virus, in which there is no chronic disease. In hepatitis B virus, C virus, and Delta virus, you can see a chronicity of disease. And as I've told you earlier, hepatitis D viral infection can only occur in combination with hepatitis B viral infection. So HEV is the transmission is again through orophycal route, the same route of transmission as hepatitis A. Serological markers of hepatitis E virus is HEV RNA and HEV virons. They can be detected by PCR, polymerase chain reaction in the stools and serum. And IgM anti-HEV titer rises in acute illness. Transaminases levels also rise at this stage. IgG anti-HEV antibodies rise after acute illness, and they always persist throughout the life, and they give lifetime immunity to the individuals. So these are hepatotropic viruses, A, B, C, D, E. A and E are transmitted through orophycal route, and they have a lifelong immunity after first infection because of the presence of IgG antibodies against anti-HEV and anti-HAV. Okay, so other infections which are by hepatitis B virus, C virus, and D virus, they have a chronicity and they spread through parental route or through body secretions, or they can spread through the infected needles, needle stick injury from mother to child, or from close contacts, or in unprotected sex. Okay, so this is a chart which shows hepatitis A, B, C, D, E viruses, types of virus, which is RNA. Only hepatitis B virus is DNA. Rest of them are RNA viruses. Viral family, I have written with hepatovirus, hepatnavirus, Clavy variety, Delta variety, and Hepi virus. This is the hepatitis E virus. Route of transmission, fecal-oral contamination for hepatitis A and hepatitis E. Other are parenteral route, or intranasal cocaine is also a route of hepatitis C viral infection. Incubation period is given for 2 to 6 weeks in hepatitis A, 2 to 6 weeks, with the 8 or 9 weeks the average period. And 4 to 26 weeks or 9 weeks is the average period of incubation, same as HPV, and it is 4 to 5 weeks. Chronic liver disease never occurs with hepatitis A. It can occur in immunocompromised individuals with hepatitis E infection. And these are the markers which I explained one by one. If there are any questions, you can write in your LMS, or we can discuss. I will unmute you 5 minutes earlier than the lecture finishes. So this is also a table showing source of virus, route of transmission, chronic infection, and prevention. Clinicopathological syndrome or viral hepatitis. This viral hepatitis can produce acute symptomatic illness, acute symptomatic hepatitis with recovery, which can be anectric or ectric. Anectric or ectric का क्या मतलब होता है? It means that ectric means that the jaundice is seen as yellowish discoloration of sclera. Anectric means that there is no yellowish discoloration of the sclera or mucous membranes. Acute symptomatic infection with recovery, with serological evidence only, or acute symptomatic hepatitis with recovery, which can be anectric or ectric. Chronic hepatitis with or without progression to cirrhosis. Acute liver failure with submissive to massive liver failure, which we discussed in the last lecture. Carrier state. Carrier state is a state where the person is going to harbor virus and has no liver disease, or harbor virus and have non-progressive liver damage. Either the person has no liver disease or has a liver disease with a non-progressive damage to the liver. That is the carrier state. So the clinicopathological syndrome of viral hepatitis are these 5. Symptoms are: patient can come to you with nausea, loss of appetite, vomiting, fatigue, fever, liver enlargement, dark urine, pain stools, jaundice, stomach pain, diarrhea, or cervical lymphadenopathy. A person can have one of the symptoms or many of the symptoms, or all of them. Depends from varies from patient to patient. These are some same symptoms as in hepatitis B viral infection. Okay, next we are going to see the morphology. What happens to the liver when there is viral hepatitis? In acute viral hepatitis, the gross appearance of the liver involved by mild acute hepatitis appears normal or slightly mottled. In massive hepatic necrosis, as we discussed in the last lecture as well, the liver may shrink greatly and goes into acute liver failure. So either it is normal looking, or there is slight mottling, or in cases of hepatic failure, it may shrink. Microscopically, there are certain changes which are seen in the acute viral hepatitis. They evoke a lymphoplasmacytic infiltrate. It means the inflammation which is present in the liver parenchyma is composed of mononuclear inflammatory infiltrate, which is plasma cells or lymphocytes. Portal inflammation. In acute hepatitis, it is minimal or absent. Parenchymal injury is scattered throughout the hepatic lobule. As spotty necrosis or lobular hepatitis, hepatic injury results in necrosis or apoptosis. It means that the portal tract, inflammation within the portal tract is minimum, but the inflammation is present within the lobules. And these lobules will show a spotty necrosis. Like in few spots, you can see necrotic hepatocytes, or it is also called lobular hepatitis, but in other sites you can see normal looking hepatocyte with no inflammation. I'll show you the slides as well. In necrosis, cytoplasm appears empty with few cytoplasmic remnants. Later, the cell wall ruptures, leading to dropout of hepatocytes. It is also called dropout necrosis. And this leads to collapse of the sinusoidal collagen or reticulin framework. And around them, macrophages are present, which can be called scavenger macrophages, because scavengers means they are going to take out the dead cells away. Number two can be apoptosis. Apoptosis, all of you know, is the programmed cell death. In this case, hepatocytes shrink, they become intensely eosinophilic, their nuclei become pycnotic or smaller in size and they fragment, and the T cells are present in the vicinity of these apoptotic cells. In the case of severe acute hepatitis, confluent necrosis of hepatocyte is seen around central vein with increasing severity. There is central portal bridging necrosis with burst parenchymal collapse. When injury is not severe, healing is by fibrosis with replacement of confluent cellular necrosis. Some patients develop post-hepatic cirrhosis. Okay, so this is the picture showing acute and chronic hepatitis. I'll explain acute first. Inflammatory infiltrate present in the portal tract as well, but it is present like macrophages are present in the dropout necrosis. Okay, and some of the cells are also showing fatty chain. Belonging degeneration and apoptosis can be seen as well. Here you can see apoptotic cells. These round cells which are pinkish in color with pycnotic nuclei are apoptotic cells, and you can see inflammatory infiltrate around them. This is called lobular hepatitis as well because it is present in between the lobule. Here you can see degenerated cells and you can see macrophages around them. Here you can see this is a pycnotic cell. You can see inflammatory infiltrate which is present in between the hepatocyte. This is called the acute viral hepatitis or lobular hepatitis. Next, we go to chronic viral hepatitis. In chronic viral hepatitis, the histological feature of chronic viral hepatitis is portal mononuclear inflammatory infiltrate. It may be mild to severe from one portal tract to another, and there is an interface hepatitis along with lobular hepatitis. It means the mononuclear inflammatory infiltrate is confined within the portal tract. In the last lecture, I told you portal tracts are present in between these lobules, which contain a bile duct, a hepatic portal vein, and hepatic artery. So inflammatory infiltrate is present in this portal tract. Interface hepatitis means that there is a limiting plate which is limiting the portal tract from the rest of the liver parenchyma. So interface hepatitis means you can see a lot of inflammatory cells in that area which is between the portal tract and the hepatocyte. And it is the hallmark of hallmark of chronic hepatitis. Then another hallmark of chronic liver damage is scarring and fibrosis. Sometimes fibrosis is so severe that nodule formation results leading to cirrhosis. Other feature which is seen in the chronic hepatitis is ductular reaction, which I also told in the last lecture, that is increased proliferation of the bile ducts which are present in the portal area. In case of chronic hepatitis, which is because of chronic hepatitis B viral infection, we can see ground glass appearance of the hepatocytes. This ground glass appearance of hepatocyte is because of they contain hepatitis B surface antigen in the endoplasmic reticulum and they become swollen. So the cells appear ground glass in appearance. I'll just show you. In chronic hepatitis C, the most important change is the lymphoid aggregates formation or lymphoid follicle formation. And fatty chain can also be seen in the case of hepatitis C virus, which is of genotype 3. Systemic alterations leading to metabolic syndrome and superimposed non-alcoholic fatty liver disease can be seen as well. So this is the inflammation which is present in the portal tract. You can see dense inflammatory plasma lymphocytic infiltrate present within the portal tract. You can see entrapped bile duct as well. Note inflamed portal tract, upper right, and wedge-like extension of necroinflammation towards the lower side. This is towards the lower side. An irregular interface between portal periphery and adjacent parenchyma. So this portal tract, it contains chronic inflammation, and this is going to be spilling into the adjacent parenchyma as well. This is known as limiting plate, which is present in between them. There is inflammation of the limiting plate, and there is going to be interface hepatitis. This is interface hepatitis. And piecemeal necrosis means that these necrotic liver cells are going to be removed in pieces. That is called piecemeal necrosis. Here you can see portal tract inflammation, ground glass hepatocytes, and hepatitis B viral infection, bridging necrosis. Bridging necrosis means from one portal tract to the central vein. Whole of the liver parenchyma is destroyed. This is known as bridging necrosis. These are the ground glass appearance of hepatocytes which are present in hepatitis B viral infection, and it is because of the presence of hepatitis B surface antigen in the endoplasmic reticulum, which gives it a ground glass appearance. Like you cannot see through that glass, and it is like andha shisha if you do the Urdu translation. So, in the case of chronic hepatitis C, you can see dense inflammation within the portal tract, and it is mostly of lymphoplasmacytic. And in cases of when it heals, there is going to be cirrhosis. The liver surface becomes nodular, resulting from chronic hepatitis. This is the cirrhotic liver. So, outcome of hepatitis B viral infection. Acute infection gives rise to acute hepatitis. In 75% of cases, that acute hepatitis is subclinical disease, and 30% it is eccric disease. Out of these 70%, 90% recover, 0.5% can go into permanent hepatitis, and eccric or non-eccric can go, 5% can go into chronic hepatitis. The chronic hepatitis, 2% will recover, 30% or more becomes healthy carrier, and 12 to 20% will go into cirrhosis. And out of these 12 to 20%, 6 to 5% of cirrhotic patients can develop hepatocellular carcinoma, which is a complication of chronic hepatitis B viral infection. So this is the outcome of hepatitis C viral infection, acute infection, resolution 15% of cases, chronic hepatitis in 85% of cases, and permanent is very rare. So in this case, 80% can recover, or 20% can go into a stable disease, but 20% will go into cirrhosis. And this 20% which go into cirrhosis can develop hepatocellular carcinoma. And 50% can go into stable disease from cirrhosis, or 50% of the cirrhotic can undergo can die, and also from hepatocellular carcinoma. So hepatitis C virus less common than B and less dangerous than B in the acute phase, but more likely to be chronic and more closely linked with hepatocellular carcinoma. So it is a bad, hepatitis C is a very bad infection as compared to overall comparison with hepatitis B viral infection. This is chronic hepatitis, cirrhosis, and hepatocellular carcinoma. Hepatocellular carcinoma we are going to discuss in the other lectures as well. Okay. So these are the preventions. You can read it in the slide. And then next is the autoimmune liver disease, which we are going to do in the next lecture. Okay, unmute जरा सा कर दो, मैं इनसे पूछना कोई क्वेश्चन है तो मुझे LMS में लिख देना. I hope it is clear. You can raise your hand. Jay, sorry. Unmute it. Okay, all of you are unmute, so you can ask questions. Any questions, girls and boys? Anything you need to ask? Okay, then I'll see you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.